Hello there. So I didn't actually plan to do another video about the Brexit coin, but immediately to the right of where I'm sitting whilst doing the previous few videos, I actually have a box full of commemorative coins, mostly of what's known as uncirculated coins. So although a coin such as this one is technically worth £5 sterling, nobody is likely to actually use it to buy anything in a shop, although it is still legal tender, so one could if one wanted to. Now, after the video, I went through the box. I just took a couple of coins out of the box, and the first one I pulled out was this one. And it comes in a special case from the Royal Mint, and obviously this is a much more of a special coin than any 50p coin that you would be able to find in common circulation. Now, often the tabloid newspapers like to do some stories where they claim some coin in common circulation could be worth hundreds of pounds, or that someone on eBay sold such a coin for some ridiculous amount, even though I suspect rarely in these cases does someone actually send the payment after the closure of the bidding process. But anyway, so here I saw online the Sun newspaper did the usual get rich quick headline for this really dull 50p coin. That, by the way, hasn't even been minted yet, and I can tell you this is very unlikely to be true, of course, especially considering that Sajid Javid, the new Chancellor, asked the Royal Mint if they could be made, I quote, en masse. So it is quite ridiculous. Now, the coin I'm showing here, which I ought to handle with white gloves, which I did, because it can affect the proof quality of the silver, is one of 60,000 minted. So it's not all that rare, actually. And the Chancellor said, I think it was at least on another article I read, at least 1 million coins he was hoping to have minted. So they're not going to be worth anything. Now, the second coin, I pulled out one more coin out of my box, and that coin actually only has 1,000 copies. So that probably, from a numismatic perspective, is actually quite rare. Also being made of solid gold makes it worth a few quid. So anyway, it's obvious that these news stories are a bit silly. It's also, of course, a bit of pro-Brexit propaganda. To be honest, I doubt after Brexit you'll find many people throwing money around like confetti anyway, least of all on one of the most uninteresting coin designs in history, which probably you could find in your change within just a couple of shopping trips. Now, the main reason why I made a video on this in the first place was so I could comment on the little bit of writing that was on the coin. Or that will be on the coin. I still do not know where it's from. I've actually written a message to the Royal Mint, although I doubt that I'll get a reply. But anyway, the main point was that it's lacking in poetic value. But if you look at the first coin I pulled out of the box, which is it's a 2013 60th anniversary of the Queen's coronation. It's a UK £5 silver proof coin. On the tail side it says, "To reign and serve, a vow made good." Now, for those who aren't as tuned in to poetic verses or versification perhaps as some others might be, it still should be fairly clear that this has more of a rhythm to it than the peace, prosperity and friendship with all nations Brexit coin motto thing. I'll just call it a motto for now, for argument's sake. Now, the reason why it sounds better or more rhythmic is because it's actually following a prosodaic rule. In simple terms, prosody is looking at the way poetry is constructed. Actually, I don't know where exactly this rain and serve line comes from. It sounds lyrical and is obviously something to do with the coronation, but exactly where it's from I don't yet know. So the verse, if you like, the line here is iambic or iambic tetrameter. Now, I keep saying how I'm going to do videos where I show some good examples of poetry or rhetoric instead of just bad examples from contemporary politicians, and such examples have been so far few and far between. But this is an example of something at least poetic here, even though I don't know exactly whence it came. So in technical prosodaic terms, this is iambic tetrameter, as I said. Now, an iamb, that's a metrical foot of 2 syllables, where the first syllable is unstressed and the second syllable is stressed. In one of my Brexit videos, I played a clip from Shakespeare's Richard III, and that is also iambic. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. Now, in actual performance, such as this, the stressed word for, as in for a horse, probably would only be slightly stressed, as it actually sounds a bit odd and unrealistic, especially in the middle of a battle, but it's written with a meter. The difference to our example with the coin is that the Richard III quote is not tetrameter but pentameter, meaning the iamb is said 5 times in one line rather than 4 times on my coin. My coin has 4 metrical feet, and the Richard III example has 5. You can also name it by the amount of syllables too. So the coin is octosyllabic, 8 syllables, and the Shakespeare quote is decasyllabic, 10 syllables. To just throw in a quick example of poetic iambic tetrameter such as on the coin, we can use the opening lines from Andrew Marvell's To His Coy Mistress. Had we but world enough and time, this coyness lady were no crime. Of course, I'm exaggerating the meter quite a bit just for exemplificatory purposes. Now, as a final thought on the matter, someone might watch this and think, well, why does it have to be something poetic on the Brexit coin? Well, it doesn't have to be. I just think that it would be better if it was. I mean, why not use something more poetic? Abraham Lincoln is widely regarded as one of, if not the most popular American presidents in history, and his poetic words still echo and resonate to this day. Lincoln was in fact a keen writer of poetry, and in addition wrote many persuasive letters as well as powerful and moving speeches. Poetry is relevant. As it says in the preface to the Norton Anthology of Poetry, it is turned to at crucial moments. While society changes, poetry persists in new as well as traditional media, shaping and giving voice to our deepest fears and desires. It goes on to say that poetry requires us to pause. Perhaps poetry is needed right now more than ever. Thank you.